Hi guys, it's Chill, here. Welcome back to the second part of What If Naruto Saves the Gods During the War. Hope you all enjoy.
Summary: Naruto is the oldest primordial, but one day his wife came to see him and asked him to help. So, why not? Naruto hasn't been on the surface for so long, and it is hard to say no to a beautiful girl sitting on your lap. What I will do for the ones I love. 1. Something new. Naruto POV. I am nervous. Sitting at my nice table, tapping my foot on the bottom of Tartarus, my tapping only help a little. Can my wife just flash in? And why does she have to make me wait? I love being social, but I can't even walk on the surface of the planet I've made. I wish I made everybody stronger so I can be around them, without killing them instantly. But my old, faded partner always say I was an idiot. I miss you, my old foxy friend, and in my defense, when Kami is that angry with you for erasing the entire universe and telling you to make a new one, you do it without thinking about the little details, I say with a thoughtful smile as I look at a potted plant in the corner. My goodness, my dear, please show up before I become insane. The new 10 tails, it been a couple of millennium, maybe a little more than a couple, I thought, tapping my head. And don't forget I have the power of the universe behind me, I say with a heartbreaking undertone, because if I wasn't, I can live with my beautiful wife. Everybody always went fantastic power and strength, but in my case being a primordial will kill any near me. But down here I can at least hug my wife, in her downtime. Before I can get depressed, a ball of fire pops in front of me, making me smile. I stand up smiling, hearing the odd sound of wood sliding against wood. I am truly happy to see you, Hestia-chan. And I happy to see you too, Naruto-kun. She says with a small bow and an undying smile. She bows in a flirty flashing. I love it when she bows to me, or maybe that is just the power talking. I've been patiently waiting for you. I say with a sad smile. Is everything okay up there? I ask in a worried fashion. It's not fine, for a girl to see her husband. She asks with a happy smile, but I know the truth by looking into her eyes. Yes. And I know you too well, so what's up? I ask, smiling at my pun. As I smile, I motion to the chair on the other side of the table. Please sit. I have a feeling this will take a long time. Hestia shook her head instantly and said with confidence, no, can we take this to the couch? I don't want a table between us. I smiled and said flirty, you gonna sit on my lap again? She instantly blushes. And Hestia walked to the couch and sat on it, patting a spot next to her. With that seductive grin, I love seeing her like this. Without thinking I flash on the couch and put an arm over her. So, what up? I ask with a smile. My brother. She answers like that answers everything. Which brother are we talking about? I ask, but having a strong guess about one of them. Zeus, other thunderbolt was stolen, she said quietly. Hestia's tone gave me a strong feeling to hug her tightly, which I did. Oh, are you worrying this might lead to a civil war? She nodded slowly, putting her head on my chest, giving me a good opportunity to play with the hair. I see, I spoke. Yes, Naruto-kun, I don't want to see our family fight. She says, sounding like she might start crying. I started softly rubbing her head and said in her ear, and that's a reason why I love you. When I say that, I know she was blushing. Got any ideas? She asks nervously. You know I will love to help, but I can't go up on the surface. I know that, but, I've been thinking about that. I can't help but smile, because she pushed her head off my chest and looked at me with love in her eyes. With that cute smile, she always does when she has a plan. Please continue, I say, giving her my complete attention. I know you never have good control over your vast amount of divine power. It calls chakra. I say, not interrupt Hestia-chan, but please continue. I say, smiling, not wanting to get her angry, thinking happy wife happy life. But Hestia-chan rolls her pretty eyes and says, I know that's silly. I laugh. I got to remind you every time you talk about what's going on up there. I started pointing straight up. She smiled and worked herself on my lap. Yes. Hestia-chan begins, you never that great at split your power, chakra, by yourself. Although she didn't sound confident, she said it slowly. Sounding unsure of herself. I tap my shin in thought, and after a moment of that, I smile and mumble, shadow clones, how did I forget about shadow clones? She smiles, I will leave it up to you. I think you are already having ideas of what to do next. Am I right, Naruto-kun? She asked, but by her tone, she sounded like she already knew the answer. Yep, but I can't believe I haven't thought of this yet. Shadow clones used to should be my specialty. I say dispersedly, but luckily my dear wife pushes her breasts against my own. Hers is nice and soft, very soft. I'm an idiot for not thinking of this. Hestia-chan leans in and whispers in my ear, but you are my idiot and I think it is super cute. She finishes off giggling like a young girl and not the goddess she said she is. But in my eyes, she is still young. I hold her closer to me and smile. How long has it been? Too long, my love. As she said that, as I carefully slide my hands under her shirt and unhook her bra. I mumble, why do you ever need to wear a bra? I ask, seeing that beautiful area pop suddenly with the unhooking. She rolls her eyes as she attempts to unbutton my shirt, isn't it obvious? You love taking them off, so I put them on for your enjoyment. I can't help but to blush, that is very sexy of you, but I wonder how long you will last, this time. And I do love hearing you moan. And I can't help it, I love it when you have your way with me. I pull her shirt off her, and as I pulled it off, I say, let's work on that problem about your brother tomorrow, but now I want to know how loud you can scream my name. She said as she shakes her head, please be gentle, I'm opposed to being a maiden goddess, and I do have meetings I opposed be in tomorrow. So, are you saying I can't make you limp? No fan, I say, pouting. Gods, you are too cute. She says, making her breast bounce for the fun of it. And of course, making me look, in fascination. And yes, we got dirty. The next day. I open my eyes smelling beautiful smells coming from the kitchen. Yeah, I don't need to sleep, but who doesn't like waking up to Hestia cooking? I got up slowly, hoping that she is willing to one of those sexy nightwears, or even better than just an apron. As I walk out of the living room, it was a small home. I snapped my fingers and instantly put on clothes. I can't be walking around naked, right? Hi Hestia, I say. I let my eyes wander over her 19-year-old body. Sadly, Hestia is not wearing anything showing or an apron. But the t-shirt I have on yesterday and only at. So, I'm classifying it as a night dress by how it looked on her. Good morning, Naruto-kun, and no Japanese suffix. Hestia says. I started obviously stealing at her soft legs. If you didn't remember, I called you that even before the Japanese islands were foam. Sorry, Hestia says, putting her hands on her hips, making sure that my shirt doesn't hide her outline. No problem, you are too cute to stay mad at, although don't align on that. She bows smiling, trying to make me look down my shirt. Please, the mighty great one, please take my cooking as an apology. You must remember, I am only a goddess. I wave my hand, but before I can say your cooking is enough. Hestia went into a daze. I stood patiently, not wanting to break her out of it. After a short moment but long enough for a conversation to happen, Hestia looked at me and said in a profound and sad tone, "Sorry, I must go, but can you sacrifice some of the food? I want to, at least, feel like I eat with you." "Don't worry about it, in a short time I'll be up there." I gave her a passionate smile that she gladly returns. Then she snapped her fingers, turning herself into a ball of fire. Hestia was gone. Grover POV. Two of them, I can't handle more than two. You know what happened last time, and you know what happens if I fail this mission. I say, not carry about sounding panicky, because I am. Yes, Percy Jackson is a demigod. Wait, two of them, who is the second one? Chiron says, looking like Mr. Brunner. Ah, the new student. I think his name is Naruto. I say, scratching the back of my head, I hope I got his name right. I see, and young Naruto does look a lot like Apollo. He the son of Apollo. I guess in shock. I can't say, but going off his looks and by his school record, it is a possibility. So, Chiron. Yes, Grover Underwood. The centaur asks kindly and slowly, giving me some confidence. So, I'm nervous with one that powerful, but two of them, should we take them to Camp Half-Blood? I ask quietly, cracking my voice, wishing I had a tin can. Why am I like this? I believe that is a good idea, because Jackson is already asking too many questions about what happened at the museum. Chiron said with obvious regret, I will talk with Percy's mother, and for Naruto, I will use the mist. I nodded. Yeah, it might be a little odd for someone to go to school for like 2 days. Although, I don't want to remove everybody's memories of him. And the odd thing is, Nancy Boba Fett is being nice to us, and everyone. Yes, Chiron says, snapping his fingers, yes, one of their teachers says she has a crush on Naruto. But I did think she has a crush on Percy, but girls are still confusing after all the years. Chiron finished with a small laugh. I will believe it when I see it, I said doubtfully. Maybe. I will talk to Sally after school, and we can take them to camp tomorrow. And Naruto? He does like learning about history, and he is new, so he is looking for friends. Maybe we can offer him to go to the camp, over the weekend. I nodded slowly, feeling grim. I hope everything goes well. Chiron POV. The Jacksons' home. I took a deep breath and I knock on the door. I start to hear footsteps and a woman shouting coming. So, I waited for Sally to open the door. Oh, hi Mr. Brunner, now what did my son do this time? Sally, it's time for him to go to the camp. May I come in? Sally instantly looks surprised and scared, but after a moment she nodded and said, of course, please come. XXXXX. We walked into the living room and sat down on one of those push-back chairs, but she didn't push it back. I stopped my wheelchair on the other side of the table. The table was covered with empty beer cans, and I can't help but notice it smell awful in the apartment. This will only last about a minute or two, but let me introduce myself properly. My name is Chiron. Sorry for interrupting, but I thought you were like a half-horse, a centaur. She says, sounding sorry but with a tense undertone. Did Percy's father ever tell you about Camp Half-Blood? He did, and he said Percy might be safe there. I understand how much you sacrifice to keep your son safe. I do respect that, but his scent is getting too strong. So, I hate to tell you this, but he must come to camp. I say sadly, this is what I always hate about this job. She looked me straight in the eye and asks a single word, when? Tomorrow, I say confidently. She nodded slowly, looking out of the window. One more thing before I leave, who is his father? She looked at me terrifyingly. I am the trainer of heroes, I don't care about the politics of Olympus. She takes a deep breath and swallows her nerves. May I write it down? Of course, you can. Names have power, especially when they are said out loud. After I say that, I start to feel a little bit nervous about the age and how much is being done to cover up his scent. Oh, gods! Sally sent up and walk into the kitchen. After a moment of my sitting there, Sally walked out of the kitchen holding a sticky note. She gave it to me, and I look at the paper for a second and open it. Poseidon. I nodded and used the mist to catch it on fire. Let's just say that you never got the name of your lover. When I say that, I see Sally blush. And I can see why the ocean god finds her attractive. Sally scratches her head awkwardly and says, I don't know who he is. That is sad. I guess his father must claim him at the right time, I say, frowning. She smiled and nodded, but her smile was lovely. Poseidon is always weak against girls who can blush and smile prettily, like that. Before I go, do you want to write a letter for your son? Sally nodded and she got up and went to the kitchen once again. And that response made me smile. Last time. Before I go, do you want to weigh a letter for your son? She nodded and got up and went to the kitchen once again. I smile at that response. Percy POV. Grover. Do you have any ideas why Mr. Bruner wants to see us? I ask as I jump down the last 5 steps. You don't have to be a show-off, but I don't, Grover says as I turn around to see him walk down the steps I decided to skip. Sigh asterisk, I have a strong feeling that he knows but not telling me, it's not even April. So, Grover, I started, what about Mrs. Dobbs? He stops awkwardly and says, I don't know what you are talking about. But for a small moment, he looks round like something is hunting us. Whatever you say, Grover. After that I felt too awkward to say anything else, so we just went to the classroom in silence. XXXXX. When we got to Mr. Bruner's door, I reached up to knock on the wood. But before I can, he says, please come in, Percy and Grover. Before I open the door, I turn around at the light on the ceiling that gave me away. And I mumble, God, I hate that light. But Grover let out an awkward laugh at my comment. I walk in and hold the door for my best friend. You know he is not the best at walking. When Grover got past me holding the door, I let go of it and walked to my favorite teacher's front desk. Mr. Bruner is sitting in his wheelchair comfortably behind his desk, smiling at us. Good afternoon, Mr. Bruner, and I didn't do it, I say with a big smile, copying one of my new friends. That's not the reason why, but did you do something? Mr. Bruner asks, putting his elbows on his desk and leaning his head on his hands. No, I said instantly, not helping. Mr. Bruner clears his throat and starts, that's good. I would like to tell you something. It is more on the private side, so I want to tell you now. I nodded. Your mother sent me an email that told me to keep you at school because some problems at home have popped up. And I personally don't want you to be bored out of your mind at school, so I went ahead and you 3 to a camp, over the week-long break. He stops, giving me a nod. The first thing that came out of my mouth was, is my mom okay? She is okay, you don't need to worry about it. Mr. Bruner said. That is probably the worst thing to say to a 12-year-old boy, telling them don't worry about something. So, with that thought, I felt a sense of panic coming from my stomach. Don't look like your mother is all fine, she just doesn't want you to be at home right now. She did say she will stop by at the camp for a couple of days. But Jackson, the camp is next to the ocean. So, don't worry about it. My favorite teacher says seriously, and he even gives me his serious gaze. After a moment of thinking about it, I nodded and say I'm in. It's a win-win. I don't have to go home and see that man and my mom can get away from that man, it's great. Mr. Bruner opened his mouth to speak, but before he can say something he turned his head to his door and said, "You may come in, Naruto." What, he didn't even look, God, he has spider senses. Naruto walks in mumbling something under his breath. "The lights," I say helpfully. "I know," Naruto said. "Before you ask, you're not in trouble?" Mr. Bruner says to the smiling Naruto. "Yeah, Mr. Bruner, it's my second day and how can I be in trouble?" he says, smiling like he did nothing wrong. "Yeah," Mr. Bruner responded quietly. And that response made me smile. Naruto knows how to have fun. Naruto then asks, "So, why am I here?" "We would like to invite you to a summer camp." Mr. Bruner spoke. "You know we're closer to Christmas than summer, right?" Naruto said like he knows the in and outs to the universe's secrets. Mr. Bruner said, "Yes. It is mainly a summer camp, but they like to open during school breaks." Naruto nodded for a second and then say, "Cool, I always wanted to go to a summer camp, or a break camp," he says with a big smile, and in his eyes are shouting that he will have fun. "When are we leaving?" Grover asks, probably remembering he is also in this conversation. "We can leave in an hour, or we can leave tomorrow morning, whichever you want," Mr. Bruner answered. "Can we leave now?" Grover responded. "I don't like our beds. I like them, but my roommate has left, so I vote going now. And the nights always look pretty, with all the lights up in the sky." Naruto finished with one of those super happy smiles. "Well, guys, thanks for pushing me in, but sure I'm ready to pack," I say with a huff, but I must agree with Grover, the bed are uncomfortable. Mr. Bruner claps his hands together and says, "Okay boys, go pick up your bags and meet me in the office so I can sign you out." We all nodded and ran up to our rooms talking about if the camp played kickball or capture the flag. XXXXX. When Grover and I walk into our room, Naruto has run off to his own. I ask, "Hey Grover, you like talking about the camp, so what do you think I need to bring?" "Maybe a week of clothes, but they do give out t-shirts and stuff," Grover said quietly, looking out in the hallway. "Maybe just want to see where Naruto's room is." "Cool, they give out t-shirts," I say in response, "so a couple of days, so a random task in of clothes." "That sounds nice, Percy, but don't forget your underwear and socks," Grover says as he makes sniffing sounds with his nose. "Yeah, I know, you didn't have to remind me." But he just smiled and said, "Like last time." That was different. I shouted at him, but then I noticed, "Are you going to pack anything?" He laughed awkwardly, "I've been there so many times, I have my own stack of clothes there." I nodded, focusing on getting my clothes and stuff in my backpack. In a moment of silence, Naruto said, "Hey Grover, is Percy ready, or is he already down there?" I guess he's still packing up," Grover says, and I can feel his eyes on me. "Naruto, I'm trying to get the zipper, but I'm ready." I use my inside shouting voice. "I did that too, packing everything in my backpack," Naruto said. After that moment I give up on the zipper and just stand up picking up my backpack. The first thing I noticed is Naruto was smiling, which is normal for him, but he was blushing. "Dude, you okay?" Naruto responded quickly, "Oh it's nothing, don't worry about it." I nodded dumbly, as I swing my bag on my back. "So, let's go." My two friends who are blocking the doorway nodded and started walking to the stairs. I roll my eyes, smiling, I sprinted after them. XXXXX. We walked into the office seeing Mr. Bruner signing some papers. Then Mr. Bruner handed the papers to the older student, who were behind the counter. She took the papers smiling and said cutely, "Thank you." She took a moment to look at the papers, making sure everything was filled out and signed. She nodded and looked at Mr. Bruner, then slowly looked at us. The older students said, "Don't forget to study at camp. Yeah, the exams are a month away, but don't forget about it." She looks back at our teacher, and she gets a nod from him. I smiled at the scene. Luckily, I didn't bring anything to study with me. Mr. Bruner looks at us and says, "You are all ready to go?" We all nodded. Although I think I heard Grover mumble something like, "Nothing wrong happening yet." XXXXX. We walk out of the school under the lights of the stars. Mr. Bruner makes his way over to the van he loves talking about. The van was parked directly in front of the door. A question pop up in my head, and maybe on second thought it is kind of rude to ask, but I did anyways. "Mr. Bruner, how can you drive your van if you can't use your legs?" He started laughing a little. Then he says, "I don't use my legs to drive, everything I needed is at the steering wheel." "Ah, that cools," I say in awe. "Thanks," Mr. Bruner said in response. "Fun fact, Franklin D. Roosevelt drive around like this." "And Percy, how many years was Roosevelt in office?" I shrug. Was he in office for 4 terms? "So, and he didn't make it to his last year, so 15. Mr. Bruner shrugged in response. "I recommend study your study guide until it is second nature for you." I will. I ask. "And Grover, let your friend here borrow your study guide," Mr. Bruner says to my best friend with a small smile. Yes Mr. Bruner, I will," he said, looking at me like I'm the one who forgot something. Naruto finally spoke up, finishing looking up at the stars. "And I get it, I grew up in the Big Apple. It's a nice night." Grover looks up and says, "I agree, but I will rather look at some beautiful trees." Naruto laughs. "Maybe," he said. I was about to speak up, but Mr. Bruner beat me to the punch. "Kids, get in the back seat, and I will drive." Since Grover was closer to the door, he opens it and get in firsts. Then me, and then Naruto, who was mainly stars gazing. When the car started moving, I realized something terrifying. I took the middle seat. Grover elbows me in the ribs when we get on the highway. "I'm going to sleep, it is a long drive." I nodded. XXXXX. When I open my eyes, I see I am in my apartment sitting on the couch in the living room. I look around, and my vision is motion blurry, making me feel sick. I hear an odd muffled sound coming from the door. I get up to answer it, but I can't. Suddenly, my mom walk out of my room. I tried making a sound, but it goes under deaf ears. I tried making another sound, but she continued walking to the door. I don't know why, I just have a terrifying feeling directly over me, like something big and scary with big teeth. "Watch you." But when she opened it, there was just a kind old man. Stupid dreams. I was going to say something else, but when I spoke, the old man looked directly into my eyes. I heard my mom speak up, my son isn't here, you can't get him, he is long gone. Mom said, somehow holding up a golf club. The old man grabbed her wrist and the club dropped to the ground with a thud. Then, I heard a scream, layer with pain. Even more layered than the times Gabe hit or slap my mom. I tried getting up again, I just want to do something. I want to help my mom. Mom starts shouting out curses and with the free hand, she starts punching the old man in the knees. But the old man just laughs at my mom. He speaks in a kind and polite tone, we know Perseus Jackson is not here, this is just plan B. My mom turned to golden dust. Trust me, I try to scream out at the old man. But nothing came out. The old man looks at me in the eyes again and smiled. Wake up, Perseus Jackson, make your death fun for my friend. Naruto POV. I woke up, my ninja senses were tingling. Hey, Grover, I just got a bad feeling about something. He looks at me awkwardly, most likely thinking about what to say. After some time of hearing the calming sounds of the car driving on a road, Grover finally started sniffing his nose. Good, he is using his head. Though he is doing a bad job acting like he is starting to catch a cold. But he can work on that later. Grover then shouted, he shouted in lace with his horror at what he smelled. I know he shouted without thinking because he let something slip, Chiron, something strong is near us. Chiron. Grover, he been your teacher the longest. The driver spoke up, Chiron is my real name, I didn't want you to have this before we get to the camp. But you have a right to know, you and Percy are both demigods, sons of the gods. What? So, the museum. We all look at Percy, he looks like he was woken up from my scary nightmare. Cold sweat, and pale skin. Yes, how long will you wake? Grover asks, sounding scared. I can't blame him, yeah, he is 20 but his horns haven't even grown in. Before Naruto woke up. Grover nodded, but before anyone can say anything. Something loud sounded like a boom and the world started spinning. XXXXX. When I came to. My head felt out and muffled, I wish I can draw more of my power, but no. Shaking my head, letting my hearing come back to me. Our driver Chiron is not in the front seat, although I can sense him being outside. I can't see him because the van is upside down. I bet Chiron shooting arrows at it, to slow it down. To buy us time. He can't kill monsters if they are not attacking the camp or for the Olympics itself. Are you okay? Grover shouted. Yeah, I'm good but my head is just pounding. Percy shouted back at the question, he sounded scared. I'm fine but we need to get out of this van. I shouted as my vision cleared up. Grover, good plan Naruto. He shouted, maybe his hearing is muffled. Percy, I began, is the pain constant or going in and out like the tide? Constant but it's starting to fade away. Percy shouted. Good, you might can sleep it off, I shouted back, knowing he is a demigod, so he needed to sleep it off. As I shouted, I unbuttoned my seat belt, letting my body fall to the van ceiling. I position myself, getting ready to kick the window so I can get out. But before I can kick it, a horse's leg kicks it for me, shattering the glass like it was butter. Thanks. I shouted, climbing out of the window. As I got out, I looked up, seeing a half man and half horse, or also known as a centaur. I gave him a nod of thanks. When he gave me one in return, I turn around and help my two friends out of the broken window. I look up at Chiron and ask, what is the plan? Wait, that is the Minotaur from those Greek myths, Percy says, sounding like he got any cushion. Percy, don't say his name, names have power. Grover says something like he might start crying. The Minotaur starts sprinting with his mouth wide open, ready to bite down on us. Luckily for us, Chiron has experience fighting these monsters. And he shot an arrow directly into the Minotaur's mouth, making it stop to pull it out. Chiron demanded, "Run to the camp line, you will be safe there." Grover said in a shaky voice, "Follow me." I stand up, helping Percy stand up, hoping he isn't wobbly. He gave me a quick nod and said, "I think I'm good, let's go." Then he nodded to Grover. Grover turns around and started running, and we follow him. We started sprinting up a hill to a massive tree that felt like a girl. I mean, is a girl. As we spent up the hill, I can hear behind me the fighting. Technically it's not a fight, Chiron is shooting an arrow at the Minotaur, making him angrier and angrier. Painter angler keeping the Minotaur on Chiron and not on us. So, we made it to the camp. As we passed the tree girl, Percy fainted. I carefully lay Percy on the ground. Then as I check his heartbeat, I look up at the fight or beat down. Chiron is fast and has a bow and knows how to use it. The Minotaur has arrows in his eyes and his knees, so not a fun day for the Minotaur. I smile a little at the show. I can't help but think about when I first got married. The routine was to work on my domains. Go home and watch your beautiful wife doing her home duties. Maybe why that who all her domains are with the home. Then after sex, and then repeat. But when I wake up, and I learn Hestia-chan ran off to help her brothers and sisters, and then my only company is a potted plant. But now I thought, smiling. Last time. Before I can continue, thought a girl sounding 12 says quietly, "Oh. I see." Then she shouted, "Chiron, they are in the camp boundaries." The moment the last word pass over her lips, Chiron stops and pulls the bow back, and shot the Minotaur in the head, turning it into golden dust. Naruto POV. "Naruto, please follow me to the big house," Chiron spoke as he walked past. "Chiron?" the girl with the grey eyes said. Chiron stops in his trot and turns around. "Yes, Annabeth, what do you need?" His tone sounded like he already knows the answer. "May I show the greenies around and help out?" "Of course, you can follow us as well," he said with a simple nod, and his bow disappear in a flash of light. "Cool," I mumble, "this will be fun." The half horse and half men smiled at me. I smiled in return. We once again start walking to the oversight building that is popularly called the Big House. When we got on the wooden patio, Chiron spoke up, "Annabeth, can you make sure that Percy goes to the medic bay?" The grey-eyed girl nodded and turned around and started walking toward the group of campers that are carrying Percy to the big house. I look at Chiron, hoping he will go into the story behind that. Ask around. "Why are we going to the big house? You have already told me everything in the car." "Yes, we told you about the gods, but you need to meet the camp director, Mr. D." "Great, I'm meeting a god already, my chakra hasn't stabilized yet." "Hope the god is too lazy or doesn't care enough to double check." XXXXX. We walk into the big house. "Naruto, meet Mr. D." He introduced me to the only person in the room. Mr. D, the god, has a card deck in front of him and sits back smelling a glass of red wine. He looked like he doesn't want to be there. I kind of felt sad for him. Because I must set in Tartarus a little after the Titans' golden age. My only company is the man himself, and when my wife can find time to sneak away for a bit. And the monsters, they were too afraid to say hi. But this god sitting in front of me felt young, like super young. A cute baby, who can't even control his godly powers. I smiled and said, "Good to meet you, Mr. D." Mr. D says, not looking up, too busy with his wine, clean or determine. Nope, and before you ask, I grew up in an orphanage. So, I have no idea if my godly parent is a god or a goddess. The god of look up at me in surprise. What? Did I say something? No, you the first kid in a long time, know at women can cheat too. So, good for you. Mr. D finished taking a drink from his glass. I nodded dumbly, having no clue of what to say, so I say thanks. The god laugh, "You want to play a game?" he asked as he picked up the deck of cards. Chiron, pull up a chair. I have to warn you, my luck is amazing, I say as I sit down. Naruto, your luck doesn't matter when you're going against a god, with centuries more experience than you. And two. Out of the corners of my eyes, I noticed Chiron look shocked. Let me guess, millimeter. AD as in Mr. D, and you look like you are enjoying yourself with that glass of wine. So, it is a pleasure to meet you, Dionysius. That was my guess when I walked in, but if I say it straight, too many questions will pop up. He sat there for a moment looking above my head, then he mumbled, "I would have thought, but you don't have grey eyes. The god of wine and pleasure, an odd domain for you, but you know how to party." Chiron spoke up, "You not going to ask with Mr. D meant?" I shrug, "Nothing happened, so why should I worry about it?" Chiron spoke up again, "Before you start giving the underage boy some drinks, I did promise Annabeth to show Naruto around the camp." Dionysius nodded at the half-horseman, "Okay, brat, you can leave." I stand up and say, "Dionysius, you owe me a game." He nodded, and I calmly walk out smiling. Maybe Hestia was onto something. I'm gotten to meet my family. XXXXX. Walking out of the big house and on the patio. The girl, who I can guess is name Annabeth, is sitting on the step, reading what only looks like a textbook. "So, Annabeth, I heard you going to show me around the camp." She gave me a hand wave. And absent-mindedly bookmarked the page she was reading on and closed the book. "I'm Naruto Uzumaki," I say, answering the hand wave. But she laughs. "I already know your name, if you remember. Chiron said your name in front of us. But it's nice to meet you." I smiled at her, at least she didn't rudely say she already know it. "Is Grover okay?" "Where is he?" I ask for my friend. "Oh, Grover, he is in a meeting with the Nature Council." "Ah, sound fun." Annabeth stands up quickly and says excitedly, "I know, I always want to watch." I raise my hand in the universal sign of surrender, and I couldn't help but smile at her excitement. A young image of Metis flashes on Annabeth's face. I smiled at the image and say, "Do you mind showing me around the camp?" "And 3. Right," she said as she turns around and start walking. The layout of the camp is super simple. This side of the river has the big house, the volleyball courts, and the art and crafts. A camp made up of demigods has a volleyball court. This is a summer camp, and the girls of Aphrodite want another excuse to strip down in a bikini. She says with venom. "So, no volleyball tournaments?" "Yeah, but we don't play it that seriously. But if you wanna play with them, be my guest. And over there is the art and crafts," she says, pointing at a huge building with a smokestack. "Let me guess, we make weapons." "Yes, but the Hephaestus children do. It is too hot for anyone who is not a child of Hephaestus." "Do I put in an order?" I ask. "I already have a weapon for monsters, but it'll be cool if I can get a shield." "Yes, you can, but it will cost you a couple of favors." When we were walking over a bridge she asked randomly, claim or unclaimed? Unclaimed. God or goddess? I'm an orphan, I say sadly. And are the children of the wisdom goddess gonna be like this? She looked at me for a second. Oh, sorry. I smiled at her. Don't worry about it, you didn't know. And in front of us is the lake house, she says, pointing at the building directly in front of us. Let me guess, we fish and go canoeing. Yes, it is one of the activities, but it's not my favorite. I nodded. Fishing is never one of my favorite things to do anyways, it's too boring. She shook her head. I like fishing, but every time I do, I always get one of my books wet. And how about you don't bring your book, I comment. She stopped walking and looked at me like I'm a crazy idiot, like I don't understand anything. Just trying to help. This is our amphitheater. Annabeth starts as we are close enough to see the details in the stone. But before I can say something about it, Annabeth starts mumbling about what she would do if she designed the amphitheater. I try to pay attention, but it's just too boring. After some time of that, we finally walk over a small hill. Annabeth smiles happily because someone finally acts like they are paying attention. So, she spoke happily, that is a climbing wall, and be careful, the lava is real. I laugh, but she didn't. We didn't walk up to the climbing wall, Annabeth walked over the bridge. Sad, I want to give it a shot. Directly in front of us are all the cabins, and behind the two biggest is the mess hall, we all eat there together. Other cabins, I was cut off. Hold your questions until we get there, it will be easier to explain, Annabeth says, holding up a hand. XXXXX. When we got to the cabins, the soccer field that have cabins on the sidelines. There were 12 of them, and they all look unique and awe-inspiring. Annabeth spell car breaking me out of my thoughts of only one of them looking like a normal camp cabin. The two marble cabins are Zeus and Hera. So, no touching. She nodded. The cabins on the left are the gods, and on the right are the goddesses. It is a carbon copy of where their thrones are in the throne room. 12 cabins for the 12 Olympians, I say with a nod. Correct, and which cabin do you think I live in? She says, flashing her eyelashes at me. Okay, which god or goddess is dealing with this? Don't they know she is way too young? It's not Eros, because to him it's 0 or 100. So, Aphrodite. And what did I do? Athena's cabin, I said confidently. I felt something trying to break into my mind and change my outlook on life. But that power didn't even come close. Oh crap, Aphrodite now knows she can't control my love life. Crap. Wow, she responded, surprised but excited. Surprisingly, you are correct. She giggles, starting to blush. Luckily for me, someone walked up by shouting, "There you are, Annabeth." "Oh, hey Luke." Annabeth shouted in return. "You must be one of the new kids." "Yes, I am, my name is Naruto Uzumaki." I reached out and we shook hands. "I'm Luke Castellan, the head of the Hermes cabin." "You a son of Hermes?" I asked, but knowing the answer. But Luke didn't answer, Annabeth did for him. "You learning?" I laugh at her jab. She opened her mouth to say something, but Luke spoke up, making her shut it instantly. And her blush popped back up, and a cute smile appeared on her lips. Cute. Eros, stop playing with me. And another thought hit me, Luke is super attractive. If I was a girl I would be blushing and giggling, at the thought of we touch each other's skins. And he looked at me for more than a second. "So, Annabeth, did you show Naruto everything yet?" No, I show him everything but the arena, the armory, and the staples Annabeth say counting the 3 off on her fingers. It cute. Rose, stop that now. He nodded smiling. I wish I was a girl for a second because I want to blush. I will take it from here, and Chiron wants to see you at the big house. She gave both of us a huge smile and turn around and walk away. XXXXX. Luke started a little awkwardly but confidently at the same time, claim or unclaimed. Are you sure he is not a son of Aphrodite? I shook my head, unclaimed. He shook his head in return too. Another one, just great. Luke said the last part with some anger behind his voice. Let's go to the armory first, and we can pick out a weapon for you. I nodded, then lead the way. XXXXX. The armory building looked like a normal camp shed. It was made from wood, and it looked like if a stingy gust of wind come by it will blow the entire thing down. Naruto, go inside and pick out a weapon that feels right for you. And I need to go to Staples to make sure the two clean it. So, Luke, you not going to show me the stables? I ask, realizing afterward if I was a girl, it will be super cute. I'm not, you can't miss it, Luke said, pointing at the big building with the red roof. I nodded and walked into the shed full of weapons. I will like a kunai, but a dagger will work as well, I mumble under my breath. A kunai. I have some specially made for you, Naruto-kun. I turn my head to see a beautiful redhead sitting on the floor, with her chin down, looking up at me. She is flipping a kunai around her finger like she lived with a hot and sexy ninja for centuries. Before you ask, I covered this place with a mist. So, if any god wants to look in, they will see you looking over there. The beautiful redhead pointed to a shelf full of daggers and small blades. You know me too well, Hestia-chan, I say, looking straight into her beautiful fiery eyes. Hestia looks away, smiling. I love you too, Naruto-kun. She said, covering her face with her free hand, trying to hide her blush. And now that is what I call cute, Rose. And other redhead continued, are you sure you want me to make that decision? Yes, you can claim me as one of your kids, or I can be your champion. Or you can blackmail one of the other gods to claim me as one of those, or do nothing. So many decisions, Hestia says in an odd tone of voice, sounding stressed. Make a decision and go with it, I say, happy and smiling. How long has it been? Centuries. And you still mad at me about that? Hestia says, sounding stressed and hopeless at the same time. She tried to make herself as small as possible, by putting her legs near her chest and wrapping her arms around them. I hate seeing her like this. I walk over to her and sat down directly in front of her. I put a finger under her chin, lifting it up so she can look into my eyes. Hestia-chan, when you like this, you're too cute. Hestia opened her mouth to speak, and she started blushing after our eyes lock. She knows what I'm about to do. I lean in and kiss her on the lips. Instead of speaking word, my redhead moans from the kiss. And I can feel her sadness and depression disappear in that instant. Hestia-chan, my redhead beauty, always loves to be kissed on the lips. End. Hope you all enjoyed.